Religion has never condoned these actions. It really is terrorism. They need to be wiped out.
Violent groups are on the rise, and in such circumstances, a nation requires assistance. Burkina Faso has managed to confront these challenges independently, without relying on Western aid. However, support from other African nations and external partners has become essential. In this context, Russia emerges as a suitable ally. Russia's involvement is characterized by mutual interests rather than self-interest, which is why Burkina Faso has welcomed its assistance. But what implications would Russia's involvement have in the long term? Let's find out. The Sahel region of Western Africa is increasingly becoming a hotspot for geopolitical and security issues, with Burkina Faso at the epicenter of recent critical developments. This area, stretching from Senegal in the west to Sudan in the east, has historically been plagued by various challenges, including desertification, poverty, and ethnic tensions. However, the current crisis is primarily driven by a surge in militant activities that have destabilized numerous countries within the region. Burkina Faso, in particular, is grappling with an unprecedented wave of armed attacks, and more of them are recently caused by Burkina Faso's efforts to stop them. As Burkina Faso spreads a fear of violent groups, they attack to scare the locals. Here, the Sahel's strategic importance cannot be overstated. It serves as a buffer zone between the more stable regions of North Africa and the increasingly volatile areas of sub-Saharan Africa. Consequently, any instability in the Sahel has the potential to ripple outward, affecting neighboring regions and beyond. The rise in insurgency and the subsequent response from Burkina Faso highlight the critical nature of the situation. As the country seeks to navigate these turbulent waters, the involvement of foreign military advisors, particularly from Russia, marks a significant shift in its approach to tackling these challenges. This development not only highlights the severity of the security threats faced by Burkina Faso, but also reflects broader geopolitical dynamics at play in the region. Given the complexity and multifaceted nature of the crisis in the Sahel, it is essential to understand the various actors involved and their motivations. The presence of Russian military instructors in Burkina Faso, for instance, adds a new dimension to the ongoing conflict, raising questions about the broader implications for regional stability and international relations. So, how would Russia's involvement impact? Before we talk about the impact of Russia's involvement in the Sahel region, we need to address why Burkina Faso needed Russia in the first place. As we already said, Burkina Faso is currently at a critical juncture, facing an alarming escalation in armed attacks that have brought the nation to the brink of a security crisis. The rise in violence is primarily attributed to various militant groups, including violent factions linked to many groups. These groups have been exploiting the country's vulnerabilities. These groups have launched numerous attacks on both civilian and military targets, causing widespread displacement, casualties, and a general atmosphere of fear and uncertainty.
The following images show swarms of fighters riding on motorcycles and others on trucks approaching the northern Burkina Faso town of Djibo. The National Armed Forces of the West African nation released these images, which were broadcast on national television, allegedly showing jihadists launching an attack on an army detachment in Djibo, with the army responding to the assault. Security sources indicate that both sides suffered losses. The country's information agency said more than 400 terrorists were destroyed during the counter-offensive by the armed forces against nearly 3,000 criminals who tried to seize the town of Djibo.
In response to the worsening security situation, the Burkinabe government has sought external assistance to bolster its counterinsurgency efforts. But this is where Russia comes on the scene. Recently, there have been reports of the arrival of Russian military instructors in Burkina Faso. These instructors are believed to be part of a broader strategy to enhance the capabilities of the country's armed forces in their fight against the insurgents. The presence of these foreign military advisors signifies a significant shift in the government's approach, reflecting its desperation and the dire need for effective solutions to curb the rising tide of violence. The impact of the insurgency on Burkina Faso has been devastating. the constant threat of attacks has disrupted everyday life, forcing thousands of people to flee their homes and seek refuge in safer areas. This displacement crisis has put immense pressure on already stretched humanitarian resources, leading to a dire need for international aid and support. Moreover, the economic consequences of the conflict are profound, as the instability has deterred investment and hindered development efforts, further exacerbating the country's poverty and underdevelopment. As the situation continues to evolve, the involvement of Russian military instructors gains importance. Their role in the conflict, coupled with the government's broader strategy to combat the insurgency, will be crucial in determining the future trajectory of the nation's struggle for peace and stability. Despite widespread reports of Russian military instructors arriving in Burkina Faso, there has been no official confirmation from the Burkinabe government. This lack of transparency has fueled speculation and uncertainty about the exact nature and extent of foreign involvement in the country's counterinsurgency efforts. Nonetheless, sources close to the government have provided crucial insights into these developments, suggesting that the arrival of Russian military advisors is part of a broader strategy to combat the escalating insurgency. But why is there an absence of official confirmation? Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Firstly, the government might be cautious about openly acknowledging foreign military assistance due to the potential backlash from both domestic and international stakeholders. The presence of Russian military instructors could be seen as a controversial move, given the geopolitical tensions surrounding Russia's involvement in various conflicts worldwide. Additionally, acknowledging foreign military support might also imply a level of dependency that the government is reluctant to admit publicly. Despite the lack of official confirmation, information from sources close to the government provides a clearer picture of the situation. These sources indicate that the decision to bring in Russian military instructors was driven by the urgent need to address the deteriorating security landscape. The Burkinabe armed forces in the past have struggled to contain the insurgency, and the expertise and experience of Russian instructors are seen as vital in enhancing their operational capabilities. Furthermore, the reported involvement of Russian military advisors aligns with a broader pattern of increasing Russian influence in Africa. Over the past few years, Russia has been expanding its presence on the continent through various means, including military assistance, economic investments, and diplomatic engagements. The arrival of Russian instructors in Burkina Faso can be viewed as part of this larger strategy, reflecting Russia's interest in strengthening its foothold in the region. And what are the details of Russia's involvement? The details surrounding the involvement of Russian military instructors in Burkina Faso are both intriguing and significant, shedding light on the broader dynamics at play in the region. According to various reports, 2 rotations of planes from neighboring Mali have brought Russian military instructors into Burkina Faso. This logistical operation underscores the level of coordination and planning involved in deploying these foreign advisors to assist in the fight against insurgency. The term Russian instructor is often used to describe former fighters from Russia's Wagner mercenary group. This private military company, known for its involvement in various conflicts around the world, has a reputation for providing combat training, strategic advice, and operational support to governments facing security challenges. The presence of these instructors in Burkina Faso suggests a deliberate effort to leverage their expertise and experience in counterinsurgency operations. These instructors are expected to provide specialized training to Burkinabe troops, focusing on tactics, strategies, and techniques essential for combating guerrilla warfare and insurgent activities. Furthermore, the logistical aspect of their deployment highlights the regional dimension of the conflict. The fact that these instructors were flown in from Mali indicates a level of cooperation and coordination between the two countries. It also points to the broader regional implications of the insurgency in the Sahel, where borders are porous and militant groups operate across national boundaries. In addition to training, Russian instructors are likely to play a role in strategic planning and operational support. Their involvement could include advising on counterinsurgency campaigns, coordinating intelligence efforts, and providing on-the-ground assistance during critical missions. This multifaceted support aims to strengthen Burkina Faso's overall military capacity and improve its ability to respond to the insurgent threat effectively. But before talking about the overall impact of this, we need to talk about the Russian Wagner Group. As we already discussed, the Russian military instructors currently in Burkina Faso are reportedly former members of the Wagner mercenary group, a private military company with a reputation for its involvement in various global conflicts. Wagner Group has been linked to numerous controversial operations, often acting in the interests of Russian geopolitical strategies and against the West. Understanding the background of these instructors provides crucial context to their current role in Burkina Faso. Wagner Group was established around 2014 and has since been involved in conflicts in Ukraine, Syria, Libya, and several African countries. The group is known for its clandestine operations, often providing a level of plausible deniability for the Russian government while advancing its strategic interests abroad. The fighters within Wagner are typically former military personnel, bringing with them a wealth of combat experience and specialized skills. In Africa, Wagner Group's activities have been particularly prominent. They have been involved in various capacities, including providing security for government officials, training local military forces, and engaging in direct combat operations. Their presence in countries like the Central African Republic and Sudan has been marked by a blend of military and economic interests, often aligning with Russia's broader objectives of increasing its influence on the continent. The decision to deploy former Wagner fighters to Burkina Faso comes in the wake of significant internal changes within the group. Following the death of its chief, Yevgeny Prigozhin, in a plane crash in August last year, Wagner underwent a reorganization. The Russian Defense Ministry rebranded the group into a new entity known as the Africa Corps. This rebranding was not just cosmetic. It represented a strategic shift aimed at formalizing and expanding Russia's military footprint in Africa.
The paramilitary has now been regrouped under a new body called the Africa Corps. This rebranding was done by the Russian Defense Ministry after the death of Wagner Group chief Yevgeny Prigozhin in a plane crash in August last year. Russia's Africa Corps has been able to make inroads in West Africa as the military governments have forged better ties with Moscow. Burkina Faso, along with other neighboring junta-ruled states such as Niger and Mali, have signed a security pact with Russia. Now, the pact mandates that all the nations to come to the aid of each other in case of any rebellion or external aggression.
The reorganization into the Africa Corps signifies a more structured and official approach to their operations. This new entity continues to draw on the expertise and experience of former Wagner operatives, but operates under a framework that aligns more closely with Russia's defense strategy. Their mission in Burkina Faso is a testament to this shift, reflecting a more integrated and systematic approach to providing military assistance in the region. But why is Russia helping? Russia's involvement in Burkina Faso and broader Africa stems from a combination of strategic interests and geopolitical aspirations. While Burkina Faso undoubtedly needs external assistance to combat its insurgency, understanding Russia's readiness to provide this help requires a deeper dive into the motivations driving Moscow's actions. Firstly, Russia's historical ties to Africa play a significant role in its current engagement. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union supported numerous African liberation movements and newly independent states. This legacy of solidarity has left a lasting impression, fostering a sense of mutual respect and cooperation. Today, Russia seeks to rekindle these relationships by offering military aid, economic partnerships, and diplomatic support. The arrival of Russian military instructors in Burkina Faso can be seen as a continuation of this tradition, aimed at helping African nations build their capacities to address security challenges independently. Additionally, Russia's involvement in Africa is driven by a genuine interest in contributing to the continent's stability and development. By providing military training and support, Russia helps African countries like Burkina Faso strengthen their defense capabilities, thereby contributing to regional stability. This stability is beneficial for Russia as it ensures a more predictable and secure environment for potential economic investments and partnerships. The mutual benefits of this engagement underscore Russia's commitment to a cooperative approach rather than one solely based on self-interest. Secondly, Russia's actions in Africa are part of a broader strategy to counterbalance Western influence on the continent. The West, particularly former colonial powers like France and the United Kingdom, has long maintained a significant presence in Africa. This influence often manifests through economic aid, military cooperation, and political interventions. However, many African countries have grown increasingly wary of this involvement, perceiving it as neo-colonialism that prioritizes Western interests over local needs. Russia positions itself as an alternative to Western hegemony by offering support without the strings often attached to Western aid. This approach appeals to African nations seeking to diversify their international partnerships and reduce dependency on Western powers. By stepping into the vacuum created by waning Western influence, Russia aims to establish itself as a reliable partner, thus reshaping the geopolitical landscape in Africa. Russia's strategy is also driven by its rivalry with Western powers on the global stage. By expanding its influence in Africa, Russia can counteract Western policies and assert its presence in a region of growing strategic importance. This geopolitical action not only enhances Russia's global standing, but also disrupts Western dominance, creating a more multipolar world order. Thirdly, Russia's approach to Africa is perceived differently from that of the West, particularly regarding exploitation. Historically, Western countries have been criticized for exploiting Africa's resources and labor, often leaving behind environmental damage and social upheaval. This legacy of exploitation has led to widespread skepticism and resentment towards Western interventions. In contrast, Russia emphasizes a partnership model based on mutual respect and benefit. Russian officials often highlight their non-colonial past and present their engagement as free from the exploitative practices associated with the West. This narrative resonates with many African leaders and communities who are keen to develop their nations without falling into new forms of dependency and exploitation. Russia's commitment to respecting the sovereignty of African nations further enhances its appeal. Unlike some Western interventions that come with political and economic conditions, Russian aid and cooperation are often framed as respecting the recipient country's autonomy and decision-making processes. This approach fosters a sense of trust and goodwill, making African nations more receptive to Russian assistance. Moreover, Russia's focus on military and security support, as opposed to purely economic exploitation, aligns with the immediate needs of countries like Burkina Faso. By helping these nations address their security challenges, Russia is seen as a pragmatic and supportive partner rather than an opportunistic exploiter. Therefore, granting Russia the ability to influence a region like the Sahel, what implications would that hold? Will it bring benefits to Africa? If yes, what benefits? Granting Russia a significant role in regions like the Sahel, including countries like Burkina Faso, carries both potential benefits and implications for Africa's development and stability. Russia's presence offers African nations, including those in the Sahel, an alternative to traditional Western partnerships. This diversification reduces dependency on a single geopolitical actor, fostering competition among international partners. As a result, African countries may negotiate more favorable terms for economic and military cooperation, potentially leading to improved infrastructure, technological advancements, and economic growth. Russia's expertise in military training and equipment could significantly bolster the defense capabilities of Sahelian nations plagued by insurgencies and terrorism. By providing advanced military technology, strategic advice, and training to local forces, Russia can enhance their ability to combat threats effectively. This support could lead to increased stability, reduced violence, and improved security conditions, creating a safer environment for economic development and societal progress. Russia often emphasizes non-interference and respect for the sovereignty of African nations, contrasting with historical practices by Western powers. This approach resonates with African leaders and populations wary of external interventions, perceived as exploitative or politically motivated. By prioritizing mutual respect and partnership, Russia's engagement may contribute to stronger diplomatic ties, regional cooperation, and conflict resolution efforts within the Sahel. Also, Russian investments in infrastructure projects, resource development, and energy sectors could stimulate economic growth in Sahelian countries. Enhanced connectivity through transportation networks and energy infrastructure could facilitate trade, create employment opportunities, and improve living standards for local communities. These economic benefits could potentially reduce poverty levels and contribute to long-term socio-economic development across the region. And Russia's presence in the Sahel offers a counterbalance to Western geopolitical dominance in Africa. This competition can incentivize Western nations to improve their aid and partnership terms, thereby benefiting African countries through increased aid effectiveness and development assistance. Moreover, a multipolar engagement framework can empower African nations to negotiate from a position of strength, ensuring that international partnerships align with their long-term development goals and national interests. So, all the military support provided by Russia is also in a positive light. It is for the gain of Africa. Do you see this in a positive light? Is Russian support a good thing for Africa, or will it also lead to exploitation? Let us know in the comment section. Will these ties be without being driven by self-interest? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If so, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.